The Mississippi Forestry Commission is a state agency that provides protection, information, and management to the citizens and the school districts of Mississippi. Urban forestry is really about the feel-good aspects of trees. It's about writing poetry and sitting in the hammock and just kind of enjoying your time. There it goes again.
It doesn't. Okay, that is a problem. I just want to make sure we stay on time here.
But
I'm going to do this myself.
okay, while he works on that, I'm gonna keep talking. I grew up right across the road from my grandfather. He was a practical kind of guy. He lived through the Depression, and one thing that he taught me was to be practical. And basically, if there wasn't a practical reason to have something, then there wasn't any reason to keep it around. And I agree with that to some extent, but at the same time, I know that when the way he handled things around his house, he was kind of I don't know the word I'm looking for, but things were important to him too, other than just the color of money. I remember one time I was sitting in the backyard with him. There's a large pine that's still standing there now, and I was in forestry at State, and he looked at that tree. He said, "Son, how much is that tree worth?" And I said, "I don't know." And I think what he was getting at was, how much is it worth if I cut it down and send it to the yard right now? And I think that if I'd given him the right amount of money, he'd have gone ahead and cut it down. But I do know that he was proud of that tree because he remembered that his son, my uncle, about 50 years prior to that, had actually received that tree as a seedling from the Mississippi Forestry Commission at school, and he planted it in the backyard. It was sentimental to him. As I mentioned, urban forestry. Yeah, you go ahead. I want to remind you of some of the benefits of trees and urban forestry. We have. I mean, I know that you know some of this. There's some people this may be kind of new to you, but trees do provide a lot of benefits. There's energy savings, air quality improvement, stormwater runoff reductions, aesthetics, and other amenities. Reduce crime. How many of you realize that? In areas where there's more trees, there tends to be a reduction in crime. Improve well-being, increase job satisfaction. Okay, if you sit in a building all day and you don't get to look out the window and see trees, you compare that guy to the next guy, and the guy that can look outside or can get to go outside on occasion, there's an increased job satisfaction. Higher test scores in the kids, improved health, increased property values, increased tax revenue. Okay. But again, there's also some costs associated with having trees. Of course, you have to plant them, prune them. There's removal and disposal, pest and disease control, irrigation needs. There's all kinds of costs associated with trees. But at the same time, when you look at the actual benefits, if you do a cost and benefits analysis, like we have here on a 40-year basis, a small tree, you get about $1 to $8 per year per tree for every dollar you invest in the tree. A medium-sized tree is $19 to $25. A large tree is $48 to $53. So that adds up over time. That's a pretty good return on your investment. Trees and property value. This is from a study in 1988. A little over 800 homes were studied, and notice here, a large tree in the front yard associated with increase in sales price of a home of roughly $1,000. That's not $1, $1,000 for every $115,000 in home value. That's significant. When you start talking about adding trees to your property or taking those trees away, you're really affecting the bottom dollar. Effect on sales. Some of you may recognize this. I know Mayor Moran will recognize this over in Ocean Springs. People will travel further. The mayor mentioned a while ago that we have all these things here in Gulfport, but the reason why people are coming here is because of the trees, right? I think Gus would agree with that, right? So people will travel further. I know when I lived in Wiggins, my wife would get in the car and drive, 45 minutes or so to Ocean Springs and shop. And she might not buy anything, but she was going down there. She enjoyed shopping, and mostly what it was is she just enjoyed being on Washington there and being around those trees. It just adds so much to the place. So people will drive a little further. They'll spend a little more time driving. They'll spend more time shopping. The duration and frequency of visits is increased. They're willing to pay for parking. They're also willing to pay more for the same goods that they can get somewhere else in an area that has more trees. As much as, like it says here, as much as 12%. And this just gives you, and I can't remember where, I apologize, I don't remember exactly where I got these numbers, but, oh, it's probably yours, huh? Well, there you go. Thank you so much for contributing to my presentation. So, yeah, people are willing to spend more. Look, I mean, just take a look. No trees in blue in an area that does have trees. Look at the difference there. And if you add trees with a sort of vegetation, they'll spend even more. I think the biggest, obviously the biggest change in price is just adding trees to the property. And then, we talk about all the good things that trees provide, but they are a resource, and that's one thing that we have to remember. It's a resource that has to be managed. If you look here, these are some of the things that go wrong. Okay, any one of these things on an individual level, as far as that specific tree, that's not much to deal with. Okay, it's not overwhelming. All of these can be corrected. I mean, in a lot of cases, these can be prevented. We don't know about the dead limbs in the center photo. We're not sure if that could have been prevented or not because we don't know what caused that. But the Bradford pear over here on the left, we could solve that by never planting Bradford pears again, right? Because they're the bane of. But no, poor tree architecture. If it wasn't a Bradford pear, it could be another tree that wasn't pruned properly as it was starting to grow. Over on the far right, I mean, I hate to say it, but that's just ignorance compounded. I mean, it's people that have seen that happen. I'm not insulting anyone, but I'm saying that they didn't know any better. They were ignorant about this, and they think that's the right way of going about handling these trees. So they're topping them, and all that's happening is they're creating a potential problem for the future. Okay, so on an individual level, okay, if you're talking about each individual tree, no, it's not overwhelming. You can handle that, okay? But what about when you start talking about a city like this? Citywide, if you start talking about cities that they're spread out. This is actually in Tupelo. And you start talking about all those problems all across the city and trying to keep up with them and trying to identify all of those. That's the same city. You can toggle back and forth between those. That's before the tornado last April 28th, not this past April, a year ago. Go to the next again. Tremendous loss of canopy in Tupelo. So now what do you do with it? Is that overwhelming? Absolutely. So you start talking about small, the individual tree, that's not so bad. You start talking about individual trees spread out across the city, yeah, it gets to be work. But when you have something like this, where do you start? This was taken in Columbia. This is Woodlawn Cemetery in Columbia. They had a tornado go through there Christmas Eve this past year. And that's Woodlawn Cemetery in, I think it was February or March. And those are all live oaks. Now, live oaks are tough. They can handle a lot. But we actually did a risk assessment in this cemetery, and most of those trees are going to have to go. A lot of them could be pruned up and trained, and they'll be able to rebound, but you had serious cracks. You had half the trunk missing in a lot of them. You just can't see it in these photos. Okay, Dr. Gray. So all that being said, now it's time for me to tell you what I came here to talk about was our programs that we have in urban forestry through the Forestry Commission. We have an in-state strike team. It's made up of, what we do is after a tornado, after an event, it could be a tornado, ice storm, hurricane, whatever, we try to help cities rebound from the storm. Go to the next one. What we do is we come into the city. Basically, the city needs to request us if they want our help. We come into the city usually several weeks after the event. They have the roads open back up. People have water and power again, and so now they can start turning their attention to trees. We will provide risk assessments to the city, which is what they actually give to FEMA to get their work list. But right now we're partnering with the Forestry Commission, the MSU Extension, and we're also looking for some more people to add to this list. We're looking for certified arborists that are in cities. So if you have anyone in your city that's interested in helping out with this, please contact me after this. We would love to have some city people help us out on this. Another way that we try to help respond to storms is through the Mississippi Community Tree Recovery Campaign. This is a partnership with Arbor Day Foundation, and we also work with the local city to provide free seedlings to the homeowners. It's a 3-year distribution. What we'll do is once the city's ready and able to accept trees, we'll come in and work with the city, try to pick out species that works for them, for their area, and then we'll set up a distribution point and do advertising, that sort of thing, get people there and give away seedlings. This year we worked in Tupelo and Louisville. We gave away about 10,000 seedlings total. Tupelo went above and beyond. They dug stuff out of their city nursery, and they were giving away, really nice ball and burlap and potted trees. I mean, substantial trees. And it was a real success in both locations. I'm hoping that this next year we can work with Columbia and Amory to do the same thing there. Okay. This is the next big thing that's coming down the line. Y'all get ready. It's going to affect you. And I won't go into a whole lot of detail because Dr. Riggins is going to talk on this later this afternoon. He tried to get me to go ahead and just talk so he could take a nap, but I said, no, you rode all the way down here, so we need to get you up here. Now, emerald ash borer, it's really changed the landscape, in the Northeast, and it's all around us. It's probably right here in Mississippi. We just haven't found it yet. But take a look at the before and after. This is Toledo Street, and I believe this was in Ohio. It's amazing the difference. Now, in some parts of the state, it's not going to make a big difference, okay? But in other parts of the state, it's really going to impact you. This is a publication from the Bureau of Plant Industry, and that's the critter we're talking about, the emerald ash borer. Doesn't look like it would do too much, but man, it is really wreaking havoc. The blue, the darker the darker the color, the more ash you have. So right down here in Jackson County, right next door, we have a lot of ash. In what is that, George and Greene County, we have a lot of ash. We don't really have any data for Harrison, Stone, and Perry, and Forest County yet. But we do have a lot of ash, and it's spread out across the state. So if you're here, you take a look. If your county is there and it's green or blue, you know, we probably need to talk later on. Okay. What we're doing, actually, one thing that we're trying to do with the emerald ash borer is we're working with a contractor now to develop a web-based application that we're going to provide to cities. It will help them to go out and map where their ash is in their city. But also on the flip side of that, there will be a cost calculator involved in that. So that'll help them kind of determine how much it's going to cost to remove ash, or you know, whether they need to inoculate the trees for later removal or whatever they need to do. But it's really going to help them kind of figure out how they need to tackle this problem in their city. I promise you, it's not here yet, but it is coming. It has been found in Tennessee, Louisiana. I mean, it's all around us. Like I said, it probably is here already. Another program that we're working on right now, we're trying to partner with MSU Extension and the Professional Arborists Association of Mississippi, PAM. You may have heard people mention PAM. And the Southern Chapter of the International Society of Arboriculture. We're trying to add 40 new, that's our goal, 40 new certified arborists across the state. So what we're hoping to do is that in your city, if you have someone that you feel like is qualified to become ISA certified, interested, we're willing to pay the costs. That includes a short course that actually the MSU Extension is going to put on. That will also include the testing, the study materials, all that. Now it's no joke. The studying, the testing for this is no joke. It's serious. So it requires a serious commitment on your part if you have somebody that, or on their part, if you have somebody that is interested in doing this. It's a great way to boost your city's tree program. Okay. And one of our grants that we administer through the Forestry Commission is the Urban and Community Forestry Challenge Grant. The goal for that grant is to create and support long-term, sustained urban and community forestry programs throughout Mississippi. This is not a tree planting grant. This is about building the urban forestry program. It is a competitive grant, $20,000 max, 50% match. That can be in cash, in-kind services, as long as it's not from a federal source. And it's a one-year grant period. This is the, and I apologize if you can't read this, this is the link to that. You can go to our website, which is www.mfc.ms.gov, and over on the left hand side you'll see a tab for urban. Click on that and you will see funding opportunities, grants and funding opportunities. You can go there and find this information. Okay. Who's eligible? This is for local governments, nonprofits, educational institutions, community tree groups, neighborhood associations, civic groups. We get a lot of interest from those groups that aren't 501c3. You know, they can apply, but they need to apply or must apply in partnership with a nonprofit or a local government. And I can't stress this enough. If you are a Tree City USA, you are given priority for funding in these grants. And again, this link at the bottom is just the same. It's the same link in case you missed it at some point. Some examples for what we're hoping to accomplish with this grant would be creation and training of a tree board, ordinance development, conducting tree risk assessments, any kind of public education events, professional staffing. we have been able to, in the past, we've provided funding for a few cities to hire a forester. If I'm not mistaken, Biloxi forester was hired through this grant. The Hattiesburg city forester, that position was started through this grant. And I think we have one or two others, or maybe a few others. One issue is that once the money kind of runs out, then the position goes away. We don't like to see that happen. It needs to. That's one of the reasons why we're trying the ISA certified arborist. We're trying to get people certified. We're trying to identify those people that are already on staff and just kind of bring them up a level rather than trying to bring on somebody that's completely new. We do not pay for trail design, construction or maintenance, property acquisition, beautification projects. This is, again, it's not a tree planting grant. We don't pay for tree removal and maintenance, construction projects, equipment purchases, or projects on private property. This is the Community Forest and Open Spaces Conservation Program is a federal grant that is administered through the Forestry Commission, and it's not one that we, honestly, I don't know that we've had a single applicant. I know I talked with a few people last year that were interested in applying for this, but we haven't had anybody apply for it yet. It is for purchasing property that is in danger of being developed. Like it says here, it must be at least 5 acres in size and at least 75% forested. Must be threatened by conversion to a non-forest use. This is not for purchasing a piece of property and turning it into a park. This is for trying to develop a community forest. We want it to stay a forest, but we want it to be used by the community as a forest. Eligible recipients are local governments, qualified NPOs, and Indian tribes. The goal is to establish community forests by protecting forest land from conversion to non-forest. And again, we want it to provide community benefits. The objectives are sustainable forest management, air quality, protect air quality, protect water quality, wildlife habitat. Have that in there twice. Serve as models for effective forest stewardship. So again, we want it to be a working forest. We want it to work for the people. We want people to be able to use it for recreation, but at the same time, we want it to be a working forest that is productive. And of course, provide recreational benefits. Total, this is a relatively small pot of money that this is coming from, so it's very competitive. 1.6 million total with a $400,000 maximum for each individual application. 50% match cash in kind services, non-federal source. It's a 2-year grant period. And I'm going to turn it over. Liz Barber is actually going to talk about our next program, Forest Legacy, which is very similar to the CFP program. Today I was here talking about grants and programs that the Forestry Commission offers to cities and nonprofits in urban forestry.
What is the importance of urban forestry in Mississippi?
Urban forestry, it is managing resources. We're managing trees, which is just another resource for the cities. If you don't manage them, then they're going to go away. You're going to have problems, and it winds up being a cost to the city rather than a benefit.
What are the threats, the natural disaster threats to trees in Mississippi?
We've seen a lot of natural disasters in Mississippi. Just the last few years, we've seen storms in Tupelo, Columbia, Amory, Smithville, Hernando, and many other locations around the state. So nowhere is immune to tornadoes, ice storms, hurricanes.
When the conference is over, what do you want people to remember about the importance of urban forestry in Mississippi?
I want people to understand that urban forestry is all about managing resources. It is about managing those benefits. Of course, there are costs associated with it, but on the flip side of that, it provides so many benefits to the citizens, quality of life, property values, tax revenue.